All right, welcome to the Coach's Corner TV. This show is a series of interview episodes covering everything youth sports. These episodes provide programming to inform, educate, entertain, and inspire athletes, parents, coaches, and youth sports organizations worldwide. And I'm super excited and pumped today to have my first special guest named Craig Sigl, the Mental Toughness Trainer. Craig has personally worked with thousands of professionals and amateur athletes on the mental side of their game. He's an author and a creator of 6 mental toughness programs that sold in 28 countries, and he writes about 6,000 athletes in his emails and on his blogs. He's been featured on NBC, evening show on TV, written in major newspapers, and interviewed on numerous radio programs. I'm super excited for this interview. Before we get started, I want to talk a little bit about a partner, and Craig Sigl on the Mental Toughness Academy. I fully support this product. What I would love to do is encourage everyone to go on the website and sign up. You can see that they have a sign up and get free pressure tips video series. It's a great series to really help youth learn how to deal with mental aspects of the game. As a coach, I highly recommend this program. Will definitely help your youth be able to visualize the game and really be able to understand that the mental side of the game is equal, if not more important, than the physical, tactical side of the game. So with no further ado, here's Craig Sigl. All right. Well, welcome to the Coach's Corner TV. I'm Mario Souza, your host, and today I'm extremely excited to introduce my special guest, Craig Sigl, the Mental Toughness Trainer. Craig, tell us a little bit about yourself. Give us some background on your personal journey as a mental toughness trainer.
Yes, you bet, Mario. Thank you. Well, I used to work in the corporate world. I was a manager for FedEx Express and transportation world for 20 years. Learned a little bit of the hard knocks of mental toughness in those days. I mean, 911, 40 people. What do we do now, Craig? The entire airspace of this country is shut down. The whole city is calling me, where's my package? And I've got to make decisions. That was probably one defining moment in my life. And I had... And I came through it fairly well. I was really proud of myself, but it was a long journey getting there. Going even further back, when I was younger, I played a lot of youth sports. I played baseball, and I was the smallest kid ever, for years, or at least the smallest boy, from when I was 7 all the way through high school. And I still played sports. Now, I didn't know I was smaller, and I learned just kind of by finding out how I could continue to compete at my smaller size, that, hey, I can outthink these people. Everyone is just using their brain, or using their brawn and their speed. I didn't really have either of that. A really interesting story I love telling people. I remember it was like 6th, 7th grade, and I was playing flag football. And everybody else is giants over me at the time. They all started growing, and I was probably about 4'6" or 4'7", but I'm playing, and I was on
Soaking wet, huh?
Yes, exactly. And I'm on defense, and a play goes off, but right as the play starts, the ref blows the whistle, and everybody stops the whole play, and I notice how the play is developing. So I also noticed that when the team doesn't really huddle up, they just kind of gather together and they go back to the line. So they're going to run the same play. Now, I get on the line and I act like I'm going to kind of just fade back for a moment. I'm going to be a D-back. And right at the last second, I utilize the fact that I'm small and nobody pays attention to the small guy to kind of slide right up to the line behind one of my players. And at the last second, I jump around him. The guy who's assigned to block him doesn't notice me at all. I run around, I get in the backfield, and I intercept the pitch in midair, and I run it for a touchdown. And people are like, how did you do that? Well, it's because I knew the play was there, but nobody else paid attention. So my brain was always looking for these little mental tricks I could play. Another example, a couple years later, I love these. These are such powerful stories when I tell the kids in my office.
Absolutely.
We had one of probably the fastest pitcher in the league. It was 14. I was 14 and I was playing pony ball, or they call it Babe Ruth, or 14-year-old, whatever you want to call it these days. And I would pitch batting practice a lot as the smallest guy still. Now I'm a whopping maybe 5 foot tall, and everybody else is about man size at the age of 14. And we're playing on the huge bases. I would pitch batting practice because I could throw strikes. I had nothing on it. It was batting practice. It was like batting cage. And anyway, we had this fireball guy, and he would mow people down when he could throw strikes. But occasionally he was so wild, and it was a walk-a-thon. He'd get up, walk, steal base, pass ball, and it would just be so demoralizing to be in the field with a pitcher who just walks everybody left and right. And just hoping he's going to come through and start throwing strikes. Well, he didn't. And one particular game, I remember my coach says, "Sigl, get in there." I'm like, "What?" I'm the guy who pitches it so everybody can hit it. Anyway, whatever. Okay, I'm bold. I don't know that that I can't do things. So I get up there, and I just mess with these batters. I throw it at them. I did have a big old fat curve, and I was just using my head, but they still hit me. But here's what I did. Like the first guy who hit me, one of my players on my defense, now they're totally ready. They know there's going to be some balls hit their way. So one of my players made a fabulous stab at a line shot or something like that, and everybody claps. I get off the mound. I think it was like my third baseman. I go off the mound. I give this guy a big old hug. I'm high-fiving him. I'm like, "You rock." Get up. The next guy gets up, and somebody hit one to the outfield, and a guy dives for it. And I run to the outfield to go congratulate him. I'm so excited. The rest of the game kind of goes this way. You would have thought by the end of this game we just won the World Series. Okay, we're one of the lowest teams in the league. I don't remember if we were the bottom, but we were not a good team. But it was like I turned this team into just pure excitement. They hit me like crazy, don't get me wrong. But our team was playing out of their minds on defense. It just fired everybody up. Later on in my adult life, I played softball, and I carried this kind of just energy into playing adult softball on a team I called the Upstarts. And we played these huge guys, and our theme was we play better than we are supposed to. And
So, Craig, what would you say, attributed as you were going through these experiences? Would you say that it was probably your positive mentality, just to kind of accepting your role and kind of enjoying the moment? What would you say that was that really kind of brought that out of you?
What it is, and I preach this to my kids all the time, is find your strength. Look for your strength. Now, in a backward sort of way, it was a blessing that I didn't have those greatest skills, and I wasn't tall, or I didn't have the physical body to focus on that. So what did I do? I focused on my brain, because that was my weapon. I had always been fairly smart and a good book student, and so I said, well, let's see. I'm not going to overpower anybody. I'm not going to outrun anybody. What do I got left? I just love sports.
Yeah.
So that's what I encourage kids to do, is find what your strength is, go with it, maximize it, and feel good about the fact that you've got something, because every kid does.
No, absolutely, and that's a great point. I know, being involved my whole life in sports, we tend to focus a lot on the jocks, the guys that have all the skills, but you really find that when you really focus on talents, many a times as a coach, those are some of the kids that struggle the most because they're so used to things going their way, and as soon as they don't, it becomes a real big meltdown.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm constantly also recommending to coaches, listen, I understand your job is to find out what an athlete's weakness is and then devise a plan, a drill, or something to help them overcome that. That's fine and dandy. And when you're communicating to your athlete, it's got to come from a place of, listen, Jones, I like to use Jones as my metaphor name if you don't mind.
No, that's a good one.
For all the
Jones it
Joneses
is.
out there, love you. And listen, Jones, you have a special skill. That's why I want you on my team. That's what I believe in you. I want you to blow that up. So we got little things over here that you need to work on. I got some things for you to help you. Between your powerful skill and these other things we're going to work on, oh my gosh, you're going to rock. This is what kids need to hear. They're so used to just being, what's wrong with you? Why can't you do this? You need to do that. You need to work harder.
It's a great point.
That works for some kids some of the time. The best coaches flex and be what that athlete needs them to be instead of what worked for them growing up. That's my other big point about how to teach a kid.
No, that's a great point. In your experience, how has mental toughness been received by youth athletes in general? Obviously, you have a huge resume. You've worked with thousands and thousands of kids globally. What's the general reception to your overall program?
It's very good. It's very good. And I think the key is that we use the terms mental toughness. Now, to be honest, we have a definition of mental toughness. It's focused, confident, determined, and resilient. Now, if I go out and I market, hey, athletes, you want to be resilient? Brick, drop, thud. What does that mean? They don't get it. But when you start talking about mental toughness, everybody knows that in the sports world. But everybody has their own definition of what mental toughness is. But mine comes from just years of working with these kids, finding out what their patterns are, what they're missing, and then devising a systematic process that can get them to acquire those skills and tools. And they are skills and tools just like anything they do out on the physical training facility. And you have to practice these things just like you do in physical practice.
Right. No, that's awesome. And how much pressure do you think can be relieved by coaches that would be able to really focus more on fun versus winning? In your experience, how big of a problem is that, in your opinion, in youth sports out there?
Well, I am constantly preaching that parents and coaches need to be aware of how much pressure are on the kids these days, for sure. Now, I will say some kids thrive on it. And so there's no blanket statement that goes for all kids for everything here.
Right.
Parents and coaches need to tune in, need to be aware, need to ask questions. And sometimes you can't trust the answers kids give to you. You got to read their body language. You've got to listen for their word patterns over a period of time. They might say to you, oh, I'm fine, Dad, but you can tell as a parent if you've spent time with them. Even coaches can. Coaches have seen enough kids. They know when these kids are saying one thing and their body's telegraphing the other. You really need to pay attention to that. And I absolutely think that is one powerful tactic to get kids to focus on the fun of the game. So here's a way to do it. Now, parents and coaches who are on the right side of this and see that that's what a kid needs to focus on, they'll say, just have fun out there. Just have fun. Well, that kind of goes over a kid's head when you say that. They don't understand that. Here's how you do that. When you ask a kid, well, let me back up and explain how we get to this point. I'll see kids who they'll tell me, this is such a common pattern, that when they first started playing their sport, they just were on fire. They killed everything. They were all out, the parents said, and then lately now they're timid, now they're not doing it, they're not showing their, the parents can tell the total difference. And it's because the kid went from focusing on, I play the sport because I love it, to focusing on, I have to perform well. So the way to get the kids to focus back on playing the game for I love the sport is to ask them, what is it that you love about the sport? Ask them. You can't just tell them, focus on the fun of the sport. Focus on the love. That's a vague concept. But what I do is I get them to say, okay, I love dribbling down the court for basketball players. I love breakaway plays out on the ice. I love banging bodies. And get into details and have the kid write out a list of all the things they love about the sport. So usually when I do this in my office with kids, I'll ask them, so tell me why you play the sport. And usually they'll answer something like, well, it's fun. Right? The kids do these vague answers. I go, okay, what's fun about it? What happens in there? Now, just to cut to the chase here, I had a swimmer who started out saying, it's fun. And by the time we were done, she goes, you know, I actually love the smell of chlorine. Now that's what I'm looking for. Now that's a good thing for a swimmer, by the way, right?
That's kind of cool. It might sound crazy, but I do like the smell of fuel.
There you go.
People think that's kind of weird, but hey.
We're not here to judge. The fact is, let's take hockey. You're a hockey player, and I just worked with a guy recently via Skype like this, and I work with kids all over the world. And I said, what do you love about hockey? It's fun, or it's challenging. Okay, that's great. What's challenging? And what we want is details. So, I got him to say things like, when I create this rooster tail of ice, making a U-turn to change directions on a power play or whatever. Details. I like the sound of the crowd booing the other team. I like to feel details with your 5 senses and make a huge list. And then I tell the kids, I want you before the game to break out your list and look at it. And when you're out there during the game, I want you to fill your mind with all that stuff.
That's absolutely powerful and life-changing. I mean, that's something that I think parents, coaches that may be listening to this can really take away. Challenging kids to be more expressive is something that in today's world, like you said, those short answers, those empty answers of, I have fun, and getting them to understand what that means is really a great way to help develop a child, even in their social skills, and just being able to really take whatever those beliefs are and be able to articulate it. So great job on that. I think that's phenomenal. Hey, Craig, how can parents and coaches help young athletes understand more about the importance of mental toughness, not just in youth sports, but just in life?
This is a great question. And it goes down to the basic psychology of human beings and what we're motivated. We are generally more motivated to get away from difficult feelings, get away from failure, instead of moving towards achieving. We're actually more motivated. Yes, we're motivated to achieve things and get things, absolutely. But what you want to do is take advantage of that. See, and then connect the solution to your problem here is what we're calling mental toughness. If you want to call it a different word like confidence, that's great. Lots of kids come to me for confidence. So my point is, listen for the pain words that kids use. And it'll be subtle words sometimes in terms like, gosh, how come I just can't bring it whenever there's your pain. So son, tell me what you think you need to do to help get over that. Now, what parents normally do is, what you need to do is, in their face. No, so son, or even better would be something like, son, is there any way I can support you to help you improve that? Right? Or would you like my advice on how, my observations on ways that you might be able to improve on that? And invariably, kids will first off think, well, I need to practice harder. I need to work harder. Or I need to do more drills because that's what my coach says. That's great. That's fine. Generally speaking, that's not going to help someone get over performance anxiety in all forms of it. And playing timidly or not to their potential. So you let them try their solution, whatever it is, first. And when they still have the pain and they're out of answers as to how to solve this, that's when you can introduce, hey, there's a mental game of sports. Have you heard about that? Does Coach ever talk about, what it takes to be confident? Or did you ever hear, here's a good one. Coaches will say things like, Jones, you need to focus. Get out there and focus. To kids, that's like saying, you need to be a zebra right now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm guilty. I'm guilty for it. As a matter of fact, a week ago, we practiced at terrible hours, 6 in the morning, 7 in the morning, and kids are they show up, they're tired, and I gotta admit, I'm one of those that says you gotta focus. So what are some tips that maybe we can use to?
Well, do this.
Say,
give them what to focus on. Don't just say, leave it out hanging. You got to focus. Say, okay, kids, focus. Right now, focus on me.
Yep.
Okay? In 5 minutes, I want you to focus on the feel of your skates on the ice and your surroundings and the players. Give them finish the sentence, focus. That's all I'm saying. Yep. It's useful to tell them what to focus on.
It's great advice.
Yeah.
That is definitely great advice. It's really easy to get caught up in how much time you have, what you're doing, and we get caught up many a times, really probably confusing kids more than helping them. That's great advice. Appreciate that tip. Can you provide our audience maybe a tip for youth athletes on how to deal with or overcome failure?
How to overcome failure? I use what's called get some height. This is a little term we use. Get some height, Jones. Now, kids don't know what that means at first, so you have to explain it. So an easy way to do that would be, this works very easily and well with kids who are religious. If you can tell them to pretend for a moment you are like God. What would God say of watching you down here after you just choked in that game? What do you think God would say about this? And if they don't, that's one way I'll use often, and it's very useful. Another way to do it is, so bottom line is we're trying to help them get bigger perspective. And that's our job as parents, because we have that. We've been alive longer. They only have 10, 11, 12 years worth of perspective, and they can't see past next week. So that's what we're trying to help them do. So I ask them, I'll say things like, well, here, maybe I'll tell you using a story. I had this kid who's a 12-year-old quarterback, and he comes into my office, and he's melting down. He's just had a really tough time in the last week's worth of workouts and training, and he totally feels like a failure. He says, the coach hates me. The coach totally treats me. There's another competitor for the quarterback position. The coach treats him better. He yells at me. He makes me do more push-ups, and everybody knows I'm better, but he's playing the other guy, and on, and he's on the verge of tears there, telling me all this. And when he finished, I look at him in the eye and I go, "That's great!" And he goes, "What?" He goes, "Didn't you just hear me, Craig? I'm getting screwed here, man. My life is in the toilet here, and this coach hates me." I go, "Oh my gosh, this is so cool for you." And he's about ready to hit me. He's 12 years old and he's got 5 inches on me. And anyway, I said, "All right, I'll tell you, here's the deal, man. Check it out. Just think, you want to be a quarterback." His goal was to be a quarterback of the UW football team, the Division I, University of Washington. We're here in Seattle. And he has a hero at the time, Jake Locker, who's now playing in the NFL.
Yeah.
Got to meet him, the whole bit. And that's his entire goal. I said, what if you didn't have this coach right now? What if you went the next 5 years through high school with nothing but the best coaches? And then your senior year of high school, you get a hard-nosed, old-school coach who rules with the whip. And you melt down then, right at the worst time and worst place in a showcase or, a Scouts Bowl or something like that. I go, isn't it great that you got this coach now at the age of 12, what brought you in to see me? We're going to be working on mental toughness. And by the time you're 17, 18, you are going to be the most mentally tough athlete on the planet, and no coach is going to be able to touch you. Isn't it great? And then he said my favorite words, and this is getting hyped. I never thought of it that way. That's what we can do as coaches, give them perspective, get some height.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's absolutely fabulous. Great tips for those out there. What can coaches do to help support this important topic? In general, I hear a lot of times, mental toughness is 90% of the game. But, really, Craig, I've been around youth sports, worked with a lot of different coaches, a lot of different athletes. And truthfully, I don't know that sometimes we all really understand what that truly means or how to truly, articulate that. But what are a few, maybe daily, weekly tips that you can give that can help coaches infuse this into their program?
Well, the first thing is just being aware that it runs through everything you do. And I really feel for coaches because, oh my gosh, it's sometimes very thankless. Everybody's in your face. The parents all want their kids to play more. The kids want to play more. You got to balance out the parents who want to win and the kids who want to win with the kids who are there for life's experience. And I just want to, I bash coaches sometimes, but I understand what they go through. And I have a lot of sympathy there. And you just, man, a lot of them are volunteers. You don't have much time to spend with these kids. So my number one tip would be to get outside help when you can. Introduce kids to resources like you and I and people doing things out in the world. Now, having said all that, the biggest tip I would give coaches is, and I kind of started this earlier, is every kid is different. Okay?
Yeah.
What worked for you as a kid is not necessarily going to work for everyone out there. Okay, the business world, and I learned this in the business world, you cannot treat everybody the exact same. In fact, I do a 1-hour talk on different sports personalities, different athletic personalities. And if you can learn that, then you can start plugging in these kids into the right places. For instance, some kids they're born leaders. And they may have some programs, some beliefs that don't allow that to come out. So if you can identify that and help them get over their personal issues that prevent that, like, for instance, they might be a born leader, but they also have this real empathetic streak in them, which means they're afraid at times to lead the team for fear somebody might think they're too cocky or too arrogant or something like that. If you can get rid of that, for instance, a coach could say, listen, I want you all to be a leader here. And by the way, I want to talk about leaders for a second.
Yeah, absolutely.
My definition of leadership, and I learned this from a mentor, is turning other people into leaders. That's the real definition of a leader. So a leader doesn't necessarily mean you go up there and go, all right, everybody, follow me. I'm the captain of the military here. We're all going to go into battle. Okay, that's an aspect of it, but not even necessary. What's a leader is someone who will take the lowest guy on the team and turn them into as much of a leader as they can at their level. So that's how you could develop a leader. If you recognize someone has those qualities, you don't make it so that they have to be the captain and make all the scores. That might hold some kids back. But if you tell some kid who has a real strong empathetic streak and he has leadership qualities, and you tell them, for instance, look, a leader, Jones, means you lead others into being leaders. Now all of a sudden his eyes light up and he comes out of the woodworks and he takes your team to greatness, and it's just this huge brotherhood or sisterhood.
Yeah, that's powerful, Craig, because I can tell you from my own personal experience, growing up, I wasn't always the best player. But one thing about me was I always tried to be present and just kind of always enjoy every moment that I was in. And the amazing thing is that it actually really built a lot of people around me that were just shocked that even though I wasn't playing, that I was able to have a positive attitude and that I was able to really drive people to be better, right? I mean, I would be the biggest cheerleader on the, even in football, jumping up and down the sidelines, rooting on my team, pushing them to be better.
Yeah.
And, going to practice, working as hard as anyone. And, and this is obviously always, we don't want to kind of get into a whole nother tangent, but the reality is I do believe that every individual has the ability to be present, accept their role, and look deeper into, as you said, look deeper into the situation. And that leadership really is born when people really see people just kind of doing things because, because that's who they are. It does really drive people to be better.
Yep. Yep. There's other personality archetypes in sports as well, and I've just had my own names for them.
Yeah.
There's a kid who's a mechanic, I like to call it. This is a kid who's just fascinated with the drills, the techniques, the fundamentals, and perfecting them. You don't want to tell a kid like that, Jones, you need to get out there and just be more cocky and be more in their face. That kid doesn't know what you're talking about. Now, there are kids that works wonderfully for. Coaches are fitting square pegs into round holes and vice versa. And if you can kind of recognize, hey, I've seen this kind of a kid before, and he's more of a supporting actor. You know what? Pump him up as that supporting actor. Not everybody's designed to be the quarterback or the captain of the team, and that's fine. Fit square pegs into square holes.
Yeah, so what I take away from this, for coaches or anyone out there is really develop those personal relationships early on this season. Get understand every team has A, B, C players depending on the area that you're evaluating, whether it's individual skills, fundamentals. But you bring a great point: is get to really understand what you're really working with and tailor that experience for that specific individual and meet them right where they are. Don't expect them to be something they're not. Develop them from right where they are, and that's just so key and extremely important, Craig. I really appreciate your time and fabulous advice.
Yeah.
I just extremely humbled to learn from you and to pick up some of these tips, not only for myself, but for anyone that can really learn and take away from this. Love what you're doing.
We love sharing at the Mental Toughness Academy.
It's great. And like I said, I love what you're doing. One of my favorite videos you guys have out was actually an interview with his name just slipped my mind, Ruzioni from Miracle on Ice.
Yep.
And it's awesome because obviously I'm a hockey guy with a hockey background, and to hear stories about what people really kind of went through.
Yeah.
It's huge. People think, well, Miracle on Ice, they won, but the reality is that they overachieved.
Yeah.
They were the underdogs, right? And it's just it's those types of stories. I always root for the underdog, right? Because it's the exciting thing. It's those people that really do what you don't expect them to do. But again, that's just one of my favorite videos, and for anyone out there, you definitely got to check it out. Craig, give us a little bit of information as to where people can actually find your information, YouTube channel, so on and so forth.
Yeah, well, basically, if you type in youth sports mental toughness or mental toughness performance anxiety, we'll come up somewhere. But we have a YouTube channel. It's got I think we're over 100 videos now in different aspects of what I mentioned: focus, confidence, determination, resilience. We use all kinds of stories. We love stories, sports stories. Kids can follow that. They're entertaining. You get your lesson in learning, and then I'll point out to make it easy, what the lesson is. But the sports world is just filled with ordinary people doing extraordinary things, and we want to highlight that and encourage kids that they can do extraordinary things too. And here's something else. I want to get this out while I'm thinking about this.
Yeah.
It's a great tip I got for everybody. People come to me all the time for confidence, and we have lots of videos for confidence. And by the way, our main website is mentaltoughnesstrainer.com. But
Yeah, I'll
I
be
want to.
plugging in all the show notes. We'll have a bunch of links to your program. And again, I'm a big supporter, big promoter, and we'll have that all linked up in the end too.
Excellent, excellent. I want to talk a second about confidence.
Yeah.
I get lots of kids coming to me for confidence. A lot of kids needing confidence. Parents notice it. Here's the deal about confidence. You don't need any confidence in order to perform extraordinarily well. You don't need it. I'm going to prove it to everybody right here, right now. People think, well, I can't perform because I don't feel confident. That's so not true. In fact, the way you're going to develop confidence is to let go of the idea that you need it. And then it'll show up. So here's proof. We all used to be a baby at one time. And we all who are standing now didn't used to when we were babies. We wanted to stand and walk. Now, do little babies have any confidence that they can walk? No. So I actually worked with a big-time sports psychologist once, and I asked him, so how do you develop confidence? And he says, well, the only way I know to get confidence is to have some success, and then you get confidence. And I thought, wait a minute, but babies don't have any confidence before they start walking, and yet they walk. So what is it that you need in order to achieve something like walking for babies, or winning MVP of the league, or a batting average, or whatever? All you need is desire. I want this. That's what babies have. I want to walk. And 2, willingness to get back up when you fall. That's really all you need. Let go of the idea you need confidence. In fact, I've had some huge breakthroughs with some of my clients right there when I hear them say things, oh, I don't have confidence. That's where I go right away. And so, well, you don't need it. They're like, huh? What are you talking about? I used to have it, and that's when I did well. Well, that's your problem. You think you need it. Let it go.
Yeah, it's more about fears and limiting beliefs than confidence, right?
That's right. That's right. Exactly.
Awesome stuff, Craig. Well, again, thank you so much for taking time out of your day. I couldn't think of a better way to kick off the first episode of the Coach's Corner TV. Look forward to providing people out there that are interested in youth sports, parenting, athletes, coaches, organizational leaders, tips, tricks on fundraising, so on and so forth. Look forward to maybe talking to you in the future, finding out more about what you have going on. Again, all the show notes, we'll link everything up. And again, thank you very much, Craig. I appreciate your time.
All right. You're welcome. It's my pleasure. A lot of fun. I love sharing.
Awesome.